In today's video, we are on part 3 of our Never Ending Pantry series, and today's topic is dried goods and what I recommend that you keep in your pantry. Put a nutritious meal on your table and save you money in the supermarket. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, and do stick around because that's what's coming up in today's video. Welcome back to Wildwood Cottage. Lovely to have you here. Hope you're all doing well and hope you've all had a lovely weekend. So I think I've got a good selection here today. I'm just looking around on the table because it's all laid out in front of you here. So let's get stuck into the top 10. My first one is split peas. I think I mentioned this in my first video, the first couple, but I think after that I haven't. So the first one is split peas. Now, I always keep these in the pantry. I've been keeping them for years. I use them in soups. I use them in soups and casseroles, preferably soup. I do prefer split peas in soup because they make the soup nice and thick and give it a good consistency. So I do like having split peas in soup, but you can use them in casseroles. You can use them in chilies. You could use them in a curry instead of lentils if you haven't got any lentils in. But yeah, I like split peas. You can get them in green, you can get them in yellow, and they're just a good versatile vegetable. They're loaded with protein, and they are just great for the immune system. Cooked is 8.3 grams of protein. So that's a great amount of protein. These tend to go up to 3 times their value once they have been hydrated with water. So just be mindful of that when you're cooking with them. A little goes a long way. You don't want to add half a bag and it's only going to feed 2 people because you'll find that will probably feed the 5,000. So you only want to use, I would say 2 tablespoons, maybe 3 tablespoons for 2 people. And that will just give you a good boost of vitamins, good boost of protein, and they're very low in fat. So that's my first one, split peas. My second one is beans. Now, I don't have any beans to hand. I can't find them at the moment. They're probably outside in the garage pantry. But I would say to have a good selection of beans, have haricot beans if you can get them, black beans, pinto beans, borlotti beans. There's a great selection of them. I've also put chickpeas in this section as well, and I do have a big jar of chickpeas. I buy these on Amazon. And you can get a kilogram bag, I think it is, for about £5 or £6, and they will last you for ages. What you can do is if you've got a grinding machine for grinding flour, you could grind it down into a gram flour. But yeah, you can rehydrate them. You can sprout them in a jar and use them raw, sprouted in a jar. If you buy the organic ones, you'll get a better result with that. And I have done that and used them in wraps and things like that. You could make them into a curry, but they do need hydrating overnight first, really, before you cook them. I would hydrate them overnight. And that just releases the sprouting compound in the chickpea. And then that makes it more nutritious for you as well. Because they put them into dormancy when they come like this. So you want to try and rehydrate that and then get them out of dormancy, and then you get the full value of the chickpea. That's my tip for you for today. So if you get beans, you can use them in a curry, you can use them in a casserole. You could make baked beans with them by adding tomato sauce to them. Yeah, there's just many things that you can do with them. There's a recipe in one of my books on it, and it's homemade baked beans and mashed potato, and that's one of my favourite meals. I think that's one of my favourite doly meals from many years ago when I was unemployed. When I first left home when I was 19, I used to love having baked beans and mashed potato. And sometimes when I'm feeling I just want some home cooked stodgy food, that's what I like. So if my husband's having pasta and I don't fancy pasta, I make mashed potato and baked beans. So now I can make my own beans. Now I've found a recipe for it. That's what I tend to do, is make my own homemade baked beans and serve it with mashed potato. So yeah, if you've got beans in, you can do quite a lot with them. They were a great substitute during the Second World War. To substitute the meat ration, because meat was in very short supply. It was very expensive, and most people could only afford to have it once or twice a week if they could afford to buy it and if it was available. There was sausages and bacon and ham available on the meat ration, which you still had to buy, but you were given a set amount of meat. But the beans and the peas and the lentils and things like that just substituted a meal. If you wanted to make a casserole, add beans to it and it'll make a great hearty filling casserole. I suppose you could bake scouse, which is a Liverpool, and used to use meat in that. I think it was a neck of lamb or something. My mum used to make it many, many years ago. And yeah, you could probably add beans to that as well. So that's my tip for beans. Number 3 is lentils. I love lentils, they're really versatile. You can get green lentils, brown lentils, you can get red split lentils. There's many varieties of lentil. I think there's something like 100 varieties. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's about 100 varieties of lentil. But we only get about 3 or 4 here in the UK. But I like red lentils because they cook quickly. You don't have to cook them first. As a dry ingredient, you don't have to cook them first. You can just put them in your recipe. So if you're cooking a chili, you could add red lentils and it'll give it a nice minced meaty texture. If I'm doing wraps sometimes, I put these red lentils in and it gives it a nice mince texture, like the texture of a beef mince. And then if you add what you would add to the flavouring of your beef mince, you can then turn it and make it into a meal that then begins to taste like a beef mince as well. So that's a really good tip for you if you're cooking a recipe that needs beef. Add red lentils if it's going to be beef mince, and just add the spices and the seasoning that you would add to your beef mince if you're making like a spicy wrap or something. And you then have a nice wrap or a nice chili or a nice bolognese. It still tastes like a bolognese, still tastes like a chili, but you've used red lentils and you've used no meat. So that would be my tip for lentils. You can also add them to soup, you can add them to curry, you can add them to casseroles. Yeah, going back to the chickpeas, you could make that into hummus as well. You could sprout them in water overnight. And then put them in a blender with some tahini, some spices. I think I've got a recipe. I'll pop it up here in the I button and in the description bar below. And you can make it into a tasty hummus to have with salad, to have with crackers, have on a piece of bread, however you want to eat your hummus. So yeah, chickpeas. What I will say is when you're cooking with red lentils is stir the pan until they start to soften, because otherwise they'll sink to the bottom of the pan and they'll stick to the bottom of the pan and they burn, and that's not very nice for anyone. So yeah, continue to stir in your red lentils as they start to soften, and stop them sticking to the bottom of the pan. I keep a good stock of my red lentils, my beans, and my split peas. I would say at any one time I have 10 bags of each in stock, and that's 10 kilos of each in stock because I buy the kilogram bags. I do now have an Amazon storefront, which is like an Amazon shop. And anything that I think will be of interest to you out of my videos, you can then click on the link in the description bar. That'll take you to my Amazon storefront. It saves me putting loads of links in the video below, in the description bar below. You can just put one link and that'll just take you straight to my shop. And then you can have a look through my categories. So anything you're interested in, I will earn a small commission off Amazon, but they pay me, not you. So yeah, do check out that link and you can find anything I talk about in my videos in that link in my storefront. And I will find the cheapest option available for you at the time that I post the links. Right, number 4 is rice. I love to have a good stock of rice in. This one is Basmati, and this is my husband's favourite. He likes Basmati because it has a nicer texture to it when you cook it than ordinary white rice. Ordinary white rice is about 50p a bag at the moment, 60p a bag for a kilo. This is about £1.50 a bag in Lidl. But we prefer this, and it says that you get a decent amount of servings as well. Each serving is 75 grams, so there's 13 servings in a bag. So you do get an awful lot of value for your money. It's a good staple to have in. So if you're short on food, cook up a bit of rice. If you've got an egg, fry it in the frying pan like an omelette. Add a few vegetables to it, and you can make an egg fried rice. It's a good protein rich meal and a good filling meal because you're having the rice. Obviously, you add it to curries as well. We have basmati rice with a curry. We have basmati rice if I'm doing an egg fried rice. You can also get risotto rice, arborio rice, and you can make a lovely risotto, and you can put chicken, broad beans, peas, any vegetable you want in that. It's a lovely meal. You can also cook it in the oven. You don't have to cook it on the stove top. In fact, I prefer to cook um, risotto in the oven. Sorry, my brain's really foggy today. I prefer to cook risotto in the oven. It cooks a lot better. It's a lot nicer flavour because you're not boiling all the water away. You're cooking it slowly in the oven. It takes the same length of time, just a much nicer flavour. And I always put a bay leaf in my risotto as well, and that makes a lovely risotto rice. There's many different types of rice available. You can get pudding rice, you can get plain white rice, you can get brown rice, you can get wild rice, you can get red rice, you can get black rice, you can get basmati rice, as I've said, risotto. So there's many different rices, and I would say have a selection, especially have pudding rice in, and then you can make a lovely rice pudding, you know, with the skin on the top like your mum used to make, and she'd put the cinnamon on the top of the milk, and then that crisp into the crispy top. Mwah, absolutely delicious. My dad used to love the skin on my mum's roast rice pudding. I don't know if she still makes it, but yeah, get pudding rice, get a nice selection of rice stocked up in the store cupboard, and you'll always have something to be able to cook. So, number 5 is pasta. Now, I covered macaroni pasta last time in the first video, I think. And that was just what to have as a staple in the pantry. But there are many different types of pasta that you can get. I have pasta twists as well, and I have it stored in this big box. It's just a fat ball box from when you feed the birds. It's airtight, it keeps the rats out, keeps the mice out. And I buy these big 4 kilogram bags of rice. They are about £4 in Morrison's and Tesco's. And I like to keep a good stock of that in. It lasts ages. We only have pasta once a week. And I'll either have macaroni or pasta twists. I'll never do pasta twice in a week because I can't digest pasta very well. And my husband's not really overly keen on it anyway. So yeah, I always keep pasta twists in. You can get pasta tubes. You can get rigatoni, which is a strip, I think. You can get lasagna strips, which I always keep in as well. I keep a selection of gluten-free and ordinary. There's also tagliatelle as well for making a carbonara, which is very nice with ham or bacon or chicken. Um, what else is there? There's loads. There's noodles as well, which isn't strictly a pasta because it's made from egg, but and wheat flour or rice flour. But I would include that as well. Just have a good selection of dried pastery type goods in your store cupboard. And then you can always make a nice meal of pasta as well. All the wartime recipes are for 4 people. You could halve it, but I like to do it for 4 people and then it'll do 2 meals, and it'll either do us 2 meals, it'll carry over to the weekend, or he'll take it to work with him and have it as leftovers and take it in his packed lunch. If there's a microwave, he can heat it up. If not, I'll always try and make something that he can eat cold as well. Make extra when you make your meals and take it to work with you as a nice, filling, healthy portion for work. Take it with a slice of bread, piece of homemade cake. You've got a great lunch. So, yeah, I would say pasta for number 5. Number 6 is dried herbs. Number 6 is dried herbs. I forgot to bring them over with me, but I would say to have sage, rosemary, basil, or marjoram. I would also say to have thyme in as well. Coriander, I would say to have some of that in. Parsley, tarragon as well. All good herbs to use in every dish that you can think of that you're going to make. You can make so many meals with those herbs. I tend to have mint as well outside in the garden and dry that for the winter. And that then goes with potatoes as well. And I can make it into a herbal tea. So yeah, dried herbs, definitely have a good selection in. You can grow them in your own garden, as I say, and dry them for the winter. Dry them in your polytunnel, hang them upside down, dry them above the fire. Just leave them to dry. It's best to hang them upside down, and then all the oils then go to the bottom of the stem, and you don't lose any of the good flavour and any of the goodness out of them. So always try and hang them from the stalk upwards and the flower head or the leaf head downwards. And just have a go drying a selection of your own herbs. You can dry them in the oven on a very low oven until they've dried out. Or like me, you can have a dehydrator, and you can do anything really in a dehydrator that you can grow in the garden. So that's going to be moving us on to number 7, which I've got a selection of groats here. Now, it was suggested by a viewer never to be without pearl barley, and I didn't know I had any in the cupboard, but I do. I have 3 bags. So I put that on my list. Thank you very much for reminding me about it. Yeah, I always have pearl barley in the house, but I forget I have it, to be honest with you. But it's a great addition to a soup or a casserole to add some filling. Now, during the war, it was, sound like I'm on only fools and horses, don't I? During the war, it was suggested to have things like this pearl barley in your soup to make it a nice, filling, hearty soup and make it more into a meal than just a liquid. So you could add a selection of fresh vegetables, a bit of pearl barley, a bit of potato, some stock off your potatoes the night before, or any meat that you've cooked in water, and make a lovely nutritious soup. Now you can buy in the supermarket, which I don't have because I don't particularly like them, but you can buy a soup mix, and that has dried vegetables in it, dried onion, and pearl barley as well. But I don't particularly like them. I prefer to dry my own vegetables in my dehydrator and then put them in my soup as well. And they're just a good standby, to be honest with you, to have those dried things just to bulk a meal out. It's a really good way to bulk a meal out. So I have in my pantry, I have organic pearl barley. I have a gluten-free alternative for flour, and I have buckwheat berries. These are just Hellmann's mayonnaise tubs, nothing fancy. I have pinhead oatmeal, which is great for putting into digestive biscuits and into flapjacks and things like that. It's also a great addition to soups and casseroles if you haven't got any rolled oats. It's great to have, but I grind it down into flour in my flour mill, and I use that as a filler for wheat flour for biscuits, making biscuits. You could also add it to bread as well. It would be a great addition to make a grainy bread. So yeah, I always have pinhead oats in as well. Pinhead oatmeal, that one's called. And I always have a selection of wheat berries as well, which I buy organic. I think it's from Whole Foods online through Amazon. If I can find the link, I'll pop it on. But if you get yourself a grinding mill, it is a great addition to the kitchen because you can actually make your own flour then, and you can make it from anything, to be honest with you. You can also grind your vegetables up into powders, like I've done here with my kale powder. So yeah, it's just a great addition to have, and it wasn't that expensive either. I think the one I got was £75, and it comes with 3 spare blades as well. So it's definitely worth having. I make oat flour, I make wheat flour. I've made bread from my own wheat, grinding my own wheat as well. Yeah, so it's just a great addition to have. So wheat berries. I have put a flour mill grinder in my Amazon shop. So if you're interested, there's a link in there for you. So that one is number 7. Tip number 8 is dried onions and dried leeks. I have a good selection here for you. Yeah, I get the dried onion flakes on Amazon, and you get a bigger bag. You get, I think it's 50 grams. You get 100 grams, sorry, of minced onion. I can't remember how much you paid for them. They're only pennies. They're only about £2.50, something like that. But it's just a good addition to have when you're in a pinch, when you're low on vegetables. If fresh food is in short supply, like they're forecasting it may well be, it's a good idea to have dried onions in and dried vegetables in, and then you're not going to get caught short. Or have a dehydrator, which they're only cheap as well. You can get a dehydrator for about £40, £50, I think. Mine was expensive, but that's because I got a decent one. But and I've had mine for, oh gosh, 2007. It must be going on nearly 20 years. 19 years I've had mine. So they definitely last a long time. But yeah, onion flakes, you can use them in any way you can use onions. You do need to rehydrate them a little bit first. But if you're going to do something in the slow cooker, you don't need to. You can just put them straight into your ingredients in the slow cooker. And you can use them the same way as you would use vegetables. The only thing I would say is you don't use as much because they're dehydrated down and they've got no moisture in them. A little bit goes a long way. So a teaspoon will probably make 2 tablespoons worth of onions. So keep that in mind when you use them, that you don't use as much as what you would use of ordinary fresh food. But I also keep in stock in my kitchen, I keep dried leeks as well. I've also dehydrated my own leeks, but these are great when you're making a soup. So if you're cooking something that you're going to cook slow, as I say, like a slow cooker, you can then get dried leeks as well. Also in my own dehydrator at home, I've dried carrots. I dry kale. I make it into a powder and use it in a green smoothie. I've dried spinach, and again I put that in a dish and it rehydrates really quickly, or you can use it in a smoothie as well. I've also dried courgettes. Now these take on a lovely flavour when they're dried, almost an oniony flavour, so you could use them in place of an onion, but this is my leeks, my courgettes, sorry, from the garden, so it's just a good way of using them up. Now these are from 2015, but they do keep for a long time. As you can see, they're still dry. So yeah, keep yourself a good selection of dried vegetables. You can dry your own. Buy yourself a dehydrator, and a little bit goes a long way. I've also dried sweet potatoes. I've dried beetroot. I've dried my own mushrooms as well. I've dried my own onions. I've dried my own leeks. So it's definitely worth buying a dehydrator. And then any surplus stuff that you have in your garden from your own homegrown produce, you can then dehydrate yourself, keep it in Mylar bags, which I will show you in my pantry storage video. And Bob's your uncle. You can then have your own selection of organic, fresh, dried ingredients, and it takes hardly any electricity to do it. There's a myth, I think, out there that it costs a lot of money, but it's about £1.50 for a day for 24 hours to run a dehydrator. But I've got 10 levels on my dehydrator. It's really tall. And I can put an awful lot of stuff. I could put 10 different vegetables in my dehydrator, or vegetables and herbs or whatever, and I can dry it for £1.50. Now I couldn't buy just one packet like this for £1.50. So I have dried cheese in it, I have dried eggs in it, so it's definitely worth the investment. So I'll pop that as well in a link in my Amazon shop for you. So the next thing, number 9, is mushrooms and peppers. I've got this bag of dried peppers. They last forever. These ones are dried red peppers. Now I bought this as well in a bag on Amazon. It's mixed bell peppers, and this one I've had since 2021. So I don't tend to use them a lot because I use fresh. But when things are a bit low in the supermarket, it's just a good peace of mind thing just to have in the background and say, well, you know, I've got dried stuff. As long as you dry it properly, you take the air out, you get the moisture out, it will last forever. It'll last for ages. I mean, like I say, my spinach here is 2023. My dried courgettes are 2015. But they just keep forever. They keep for ages. As long as you've got them in a kiln jar and you've sucked all the air out and you've taken all the moisture out, they'll last forever. So yeah, I would recommend having a good selection of dried vegetables. But the same thing as well for peppers. You could dry your own peppers, but I don't grow them. I find they don't grow that well here in Wales because of the climate. But they're a great addition to the store cupboard. Yes, I know they didn't particularly have them during the Second World War. And yes, they probably wouldn't have had the dried goods that we can produce today. They probably would have had to buy them. But make the most of what's available in the supermarket on the shelves. Because we are going to come to a time, I do believe, and it has been forecast, some things are going to be in short supply, and I want to make sure that I've got mushrooms in my house, that I've got tomatoes in my house, that I've got things that I can cook a decent meal. And that really is the intention of these videos, is to make sure I can put a decent meal on the table, because my husband does a very manual job. He's a painter and decorator, up and down ladders, outside all day, painting houses. And I want to make sure that he has the energy, he has the stamina to be able to go out to work and not be ill and not be tired and not be run down and not get his body not get stressed. So if you are the main sort of person in the house, like I am, a housewife who looks after all the food, think of how you can put really good meal on the table for you and your family. And it's just a really good way to get my own mushrooms here, which I've dehydrated myself. Dehydrated these last year. Now I have added these to a casserole. They go a long way. A little goes a long way again with these. You could probably use a tablespoon and feed 4 people out of a jar like this. But they are sealed and they do last for a long time. If you put an oxygen absorber, inside, it does suck a bit of the moisture out as well. But I've got one of those things that fit on the top and it sucks all the air out automatically. But you can get different flavoured ones. These were the closed cup mushrooms. But I also found these in Lidl, and I think they were 1.99 a bag, I think. And these are dried porcini mushrooms. Now they sell these in my health food shop, and they're about 3.99 a bag. Now these ones were, I think they're about 1.99. You only get 30 grams, but again, a little goes a long way. So you probably find that you would only need a third of a bag for one mushroom. Because they are big mushrooms, aren't they? So yeah, porcini mushrooms. You can get shiitake mushrooms as well. You can get the oyster mushrooms as well, dehydrated, but I think they only tend to come in the health food shop. If you wanted to do that, you probably have to dehydrate your own again. So mushrooms are great in any mushroom dish, and it's always good just to have them in stock dried, because it's not always possible to get some decent mushrooms. I find a lot of the mushrooms nowadays are either a bit wet in the box or they are very brown, very bruised, and they're just not as good as what they used to be. So I tend not to buy as many mushrooms these days, because when I do get them, they go off very quick and they don't have as much flavour. And I don't want to pay for something when it's just going to go off in 5 minutes. So you were encouraged during the war to grow your own mushrooms if you could. So all you need is a bucket, some old chicken manure, or some old farmyard manure, a little bit of bark or a little bit of compost, and spread the mushroom spawn on the top of that and get it to grow. I am going to do an experiment here of, I'm going to buy some mushrooms and I'm going to cut the stalks off, because apparently at the bottom of the stalk is where all the mycelium, is it called, is stored, is at the bottom of the stalk. So what I thought I could do was I could chop up the stalk off the mushroom, spread it out on my compost, pop it in the the tool shed, up the garden, my craft shed, and put it in the dark up there and see if I can get my own mushrooms and see how we get on. So that is an experiment I'm going to be trying here on my channel. If you want to follow that, it will be over on my memberships mainly, and I'll be showing you from start to finish what I do. And that'll be in all of my membership tiers if you're interested. If you haven't joined my membership, do have a look in the join button, and it's also linked in the description bar below. There's 4 different tiers there, and it would be lovely to have you join the Wildwood Cottage family and become a companion here, and we can get on with business here together. The last one I don't have to hand, and that's mashed potato. Mashed potato is great. There are so many recipes in the wartime cookbooks that use mashed potato. And I'm even thinking of buying that in bulk to have in the house. I'm going to see if I can get some organic stuff. And yeah, I'm just going to see about getting it myself to see what it's like, and then maybe see about dehydrating it myself in my dehydrator. But yeah, it's very cheap to buy. But then you can cook fish cakes, you can make leftovers as well. You can make any mashed potato dish that you would normally use mashed potato for. You can use it in any leftover recipe. And if you're like me, I just like mashed potatoes. So I just cook it up in hot water and then put it with my baked beans, and that would be a great meal as well. So yeah, mashed potato is a great addition to have. It's very cheap, as I say. If I can find it, I will pop it in my Amazon links as well for you. So yeah, they are my top 10. There was a lot in that, wasn't there? I'll try and do a list for you, a shopping list. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is doing a shopping list and popping it in a PDF and making it available to all of you. And then from this series, then you can then take the list and go and see what you can buy to pop in your own pantry. If you're starting from scratch, like I know it's very nerve-wracking. I know when I started, I was like, what on earth do I buy? What on earth do I put in my pantry? Well, this list going on my PDF upload will be available to you from this weekend. I'll do it for you for Sunday. I'll pop a community post up and let you know when it's there. And that'll just be the first 3 that we have done. And that is my top 10 pantry staples for cooking wartime recipes, my top 10 fresh goods as well, and today's top 10 of dried goods. Now, are you ready for your bonus tip? My bonus tip would be dried tomatoes. I love dried tomatoes. I love just plain dried tomatoes, but I also keep these in stock as well, and they are sun dried tomatoes. Now, I know that they seem expensive in the supermarket, but you really only need one. Just one tomato like that of a sun-dried tomato is all you need to flavour a meal. Now you can flavour any tomato dish with these. You could even flavour a salad with them and lightly chop them and pop them on top of your lettuce. You could place them in any rice dish as well. You could place them in wraps. You could place them in a casserole. Anything. Anything that you need to add extra flavour. They are so full of flavour. They are packed with flavour, and a little bit, just like that, goes a long way. So if you think probably these were about, let me see, is there a price on them? These were 165, I think. Does that say 165? Yeah, 165 they were. Now I've had these for ages. I mean ages. They don't tend to go out of date. There's no date on them. Oh yes, there is. 2018. But you know, these are just as good as they were. They're in an airtight box, so they're absolutely fine. But yeah, sun-dried tomatoes, if you can get them. I also know that Lidl were doing tomatoes in these types of bags. They were also doing dried peppers, which I've got as well, in the same place as my dried beans. I can't find them anywhere. So yeah, dried tomatoes, definitely worth having them in. You can dry your own tomatoes with a dehydrator. All you need to do is slice them up thinly, pop them in the dehydrator, and you can make your own dried sliced tomatoes. You could put herbs with them, you could put oil with them, you could put garlic with them, dry them in the dehydrator, and then chop them up and pop them in dishes when you're cooking a tomato dish, like a bolognese, a lasagna, a pasta. Just really, really good, versatile meal, really cheap to buy, last forever. As you can see, I've had mine a long time. I only use them now and again because I forget I've got them, to be honest with you. So yeah, dried tomatoes is my bonus tip number 11. There are a few bits missing. I know I missed oats. I know I missed porridge off my dried list, but that's because it was in episode 1. There's probably other things that you're going to shout at me that I've missed as well. If you can think of anything, pop it in the description bar below and get the conversation going about what dried goods you like to have in your store cupboard and what dried goods you would say is essential as well in your store cupboard, and we can get the conversation going here as well. As I say, do have a look at my memberships. I've got some really good memberships set up now. I will continue to add perks to those tiers for you, so that isn't the end of what you're going to get in my perks. I'm also going to be doing bonus shorts as well in my perks, and maybe the odd bonus video. In the top tier, there's going to be a questions and answers once a month. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, then have a look over there, have a look at my top tier, and we'll see how we get on. I may do a Q&A here as well at some point, but I'm so busy doing this pantry series, I just don't think I'm going to get around to it at the moment. Anyway, don't forget my video on Sunday. We're going to be having a good update in the Victory Garden because I know I missed it last week. And then next week on Wednesday, we are going to be having a look in my pantry because I want to get on with renovating my pantry. So I thought I'd show you the house pantry and the garage pantry, and you can have a nose and see what mine's like. It's nothing glamorous. Honestly, I will assure you, it's nothing glamorous. But if you can get some tips from it, then I hope you enjoy the video. So I'm going to go. Do like, subscribe, do hit that bell. That'll tell you when I upload new videos. And I'll see you again on Sunday. So take care, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye bye.